I don't claim to be Dr. Seuss's Lorax, but if trees could talk, I believe they would be crying out, "Hey humans, stop loving us to death. Hey humans, we need some relief, and you're supposed to be taking care of us. Hey Congress, you're killing us, and if we die, you die."
Imagine standing beneath the towering redwood trees of Northern California, their trunks stretching up to 300 feet, their existence proving their ability to withstand changing climates.
Such old-growth trees perform several ecosystem services, from serving as storage for clean water to being major sites of carbon sequestration. They are home to a diverse community of birds, plants, insects, and many other species.
However, this makes one wonder about our future if we continue heading towards a path of financial gain over environmentalism. What will happen to the high numbers and diverse species that live among our trees?
According to the USDA, urban forests in the U.S. produce about 67 million tons of oxygen every year, with this being enough to offset the yearly oxygen consumption of 2/3 of our population.
The world's forests. Trees breathe carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere. And yet each minute, the world is chopping down the equivalent of 10 soccer fields worth of forest each minute.
With that being said, the significance of our nation's and our world's forests is obvious. Still, we as a nation have not taken the correct steps necessary to properly mitigate deforestation and protect our forests.
We must have laws set in place to stop significant acts of deforestation, preserve Earth's biodiversity, and lower the effects of climate change.
Companies or even private landowners cut down trees for timber, but because the state of California values the forest and wildlife habitat, California has a lot of rules in place so that those people are required to replant the forest. But just because of the forest has been replanted doesn't mean it's going to take decades before those trees are mature and before they provide the same habitat values that they did before they were cut down. What we really need is more old trees, because one tree that is 6 feet across, it's going to keep absorbing a lot more carbon than a bunch of little baby trees.
However, state agencies alone cannot be fully responsible for reforming our current logging practices, as often they can be influenced by outside interests. Many interest groups and organizations play a huge role in advocating for and educating people about sustainable practices.
We need to ensure that our timber demands can be met in a fashion that we aren't kind of exporting our problems to other areas too, right? Like, I don't think that we will win if we stop logging the redwoods, but we log the Amazon instead. For too long, we failed to recognize the role that Native Americans had in managing the forests of our region or of North America generally. This idea that there was wilderness that was untrammeled by man, to use the language of the Wilderness Act, is a farce. With that recognition, I think that one, that Native American tribes have some special ecological knowledge, and they should be listened to in forest management decisions. By restoring tribal management opportunities, it is a way to make better but not make right the historic injustices that have been perpetrated.
With our livelihood so closely tied to the environment, we must take mindful choices to combat the choices of big industries. Within these industries, there is also the issue of privately owned land and how they choose to treat the land. However, we mustn't put all the blame on the individual loggers doing this work.
Loggers themselves don't decide, hey, we're going to go cut down all these trees. Someone's going to hire them. In some ways, it's kind of looking at a cornfield and, having this emotional connection with a stalk of corn is similar to the way that, you could look at the forest and trees, saying, well, I love this tree, maybe get cut down. And for you, in loving that one tree, yes, that's a tragedy.
To save the forests, we must stop clear-cutting forests and removing our old-growth trees.
On our current track of carbon emissions and fossil fuel use, global warming has already increased exponentially. Our government must enforce tighter regulations on the removal of trees.
If we continue on this path, while removing such significant sources of carbon sequestration, we will lose our planet. Acting after the problem reaches a point of no return is not enough.